Hello everyone. Today we're just kind of looking at this SpeedyBee TX800, and we're just going to mention this because to my knowledge, this is the highest power output, smallest form factor that we can get, and for a micro guy, that's pretty important. It is 20 by 20, and this top shiny part that we're looking here, that is quite nice to look at. It's kind of visually stunning. It's not all that heavy. We'll weigh it here in a moment, but it's obviously for a 20 by 20 stack. We've been seeing a lot of Whoop board stacks, but I'm sure we can find an STL file somewhere to print this out. It does also come with an MMCX connector here, so that's going to mean it has a little bit more weight, and then we have a wiring harness connector here, and then a button. Give you a little close-up here for those that know all the tiny little components and want to see them as detailed as you might be able to be. This has a 5 amp, 1 amp BEC output. So you could power, say, your camera. That's kind of what I do a lot of times for my VTX, is power the camera. It does tramp protocol as well for your smart audio. So pretty straightforward as far as VTX goes. It does have this all labeled out here on the back. If you choose not to use the connector, if you want to go the route of the labels here, we've got 5-volt ground, our video, our smart audio, power ground, think is what this is. I can barely read it through the camera display here. And it does take, it has to be above 3.7 volts, but it does take up to 5 volts. So it's not something you would power from your battery. You definitely want to power this from your flight controller. So you should have additional filtering, but your flight controller would need to be able to support it as well. What else is in the box here? I haven't even looked inside. Okay, so we get a couple of nuts. We've got an SMA to MMCX extension here, so you could plug this in, say you have a larger than micro scenario going on, or you could just, it does include a little whip or linear antenna, which is oftentimes what I use, and of course the wiring harness, about what you would expect to find inside this. It's not exactly free or cheap. I think it comes in at around $29. You may be able to find it at other locations. I haven't looked to see who's all carrying it, but I will, and I'll link those down in the video description. I do know that the SpeedyBee.com site is, of course, selling this. It does come in a locked state. So what they state on their instructions, and how I read that, is you power your quad. You know, of course, you've got everything wired up, and then you hold this button in for 10 seconds. I would hold it for 11 and then release it. And then it has a blue light. If the blue light is constantly on, then it's locked. If the blue light blinks or it's not on all the time, then it's unlocked. Also, where'd they go? Here we go. They sent some antennas here, which are fairly interesting as far as their shape goes. These are just V2 antennas that they're selling, and they do come in SMA and UFL, as you see here. And something that I thought was interesting is these definitely kind of have that form factor of for Caddx Vistas, because they have this tube here, which we've seen on a lot of those Rush Cherry antennas, and then they have the part where we can just finagle the wire all over the place. This tube is, well, it's plastic, so it's flexible. It's not that super bendy, flexible stuff. I've pointed out a few times on the channel. So these antennas, you get 2 pairs, and they come in at around $15. I haven't tried them out yet, but I'm interested in trying them out. Something else that came in here recently that I think we should look at. So this VTX, of course, this isn't really micro appropriate. So this would be for those guys that have a mixed fleet. Maybe you do some micros and some the bigger guys. This goes up to 1.6 watts according to the label and the specs. So of course it's got a little bit of a heat sink up here. You can see that it's got metal in a stack, and the MMCX up here. And then we've got really nicely laid out. Of course it's 30 by 30. So your mounting has to be 30 by 30. It looks like it might be breakout, but I just don't see where it would be a breakout. These side pieces to where you could mount it on something smaller, because then what size would that be? Also, that comes in the box. This is GEP-RC, if you didn't see that label on there. We've got a whip antenna, and then we've got an SMA extension. Looks like we've got some mounting nylon standoffs and whatnot, and some additional wires down there. But that is the most powerful VTX that I've had in my hands. If true, 1.6 watts. Unfortunately, I don't have an RF tester. That's something I could do with this particular thing, is to test, you know, its actual power output. But I don't have one of those. We'll need to look for one of our other buddies to do that. But I wanted to bring this VTX up. I think it's kind of, well, it's definitely sharp to look at. That's interesting. This little nubbin here kind of dictates where it goes on the board. I hadn't noticed that before just now. I wonder if that little piece that I flicked off the top was important. Doesn't bang into something. I don't know. I don't know. I wanted to show these items, but the main thing that I wanted to look at, well, there's really two things, is I'd like to use this 800 milliwatt VTX, but I'm unsure what to use it on. Sure, I could look at something on the shelf and make something fit. But I also think in about 10 days to 2 weeks, I think things might slow down enough to where I actually have time to do a build for once. And that's something I've actually kind of missed. Yeah, I do lots of little wiring and tinkering, but I really haven't done a build in a while. And that's where I'd like some of your help. Something new that you've seen in the micro arena that we should look at. Of course, it probably won't be a whoop or this isn't going on it. So we're probably looking at something, 2-inch prop or greater, probably 2.5 to 3 inches, where I would like to see it. So if you could tell me down in the comment section any new frames you've seen, to see if there's something new from gnarlyfpv.com or tomoquads.com or really any vendor out there. If you could tell me the brand as well as the name, that'll make it easier for me to track down. If you send links, which you can do, YouTube universally slurps all links that are submitted through the comment section into the spam, but I can go in and clear those if you want to leave links. If otherwise it's just something that you saw or something off the top of your mind, if you could leave me the brand as well as the frame name, that would certainly help me find it. And then, I've got 10 days to 2 weeks. It might give me enough time to gather up the parts too. If I don't already have something that I can use, I've still got motors and stuff around. And of course, I've got some new props that are 3-inch props. They're low pitch props from Dow Prop that might come in handy as well. But anyways, just a real short video today. Happy Monday to all of you out there that are enjoying your Monday. If you're not enjoying the Monday, maybe this gave you a few minutes of enjoyment or otherwise something to pass the time with. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please have some suggestions about that frame. Leave them in the comment section down below. I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching.